Hello, in today's video, we'll look at the cue card, describe a photo that you're proud of. In this video, you'll learn how to use storytelling as a strategic tool to answer. We will also look at some vocabulary, and finally an 8+ band sample answer. Hey gang, Japanese from Tarvar. Before we move any further, make sure to like and subscribe and get your notifications on. So with this cue card, our strategy is simple. We will use storytelling as an effective tool. So you might be wondering why storytelling? It's been used for centuries and it works. After that, we'll also look at how to add emotion into your answers. If there are no emotions, it becomes pretty boring and it doesn't get you as many points. So that's certainly something to add in your answer. And finally, there's some vocabulary that I would like you to have a look at as well, because this is the vocabulary that we use every day. So you can actually use this, so add it to your arsenal of words. So before we move any further, there's something I would like you to know. Happiness, that is what will get you results. So let's look at it this way. So while you're preparing for your IELTS, do you look something like this? Or maybe even, somewhat stressed and concerned about what the final outcome might be, and you look something like this. You might be wondering is this the right choice for me? So, I understand that feeling. I've felt it myself. And I realize that a lot of viewers and a lot of candidates who are sitting for IELTS are going through that. And you know what? Believe me, you're not alone. It happens to everyone. To the majority of us, it happens. So for you to fully understand what it is, let's look at that. So basically what it is called is foreign language anxiety. So to truly understand it, what it means is that the feelings of worry and negative, fear-related emotions associated with learning or using a language that is not an individual's mother tongue. So say you're learning English, in this case IELTS, CIUR, and it's not your mother tongue, it's a second language that you're learning. So, it causes you anxiety, and that's what it's called, foreign language anxiety. It's a well-researched topic. Go look it up on Google, you'll find so much data on it. It's actually very mind-blowing. So what I want you to take from this is, if your anxiety is going up, your performance is going to go down. And that is, something that you might want to keep in mind. And if you're struggling with this, if you struggle with so much anxiety that it causes you low performance, I think you should deal with that. Because that is a problem that we need to rectify before we move any further, before you use any of the things that you learn in this video. And I know a lot of people, a lot of candidates who've taken IELTS multiple times, and every time they've been taking it, their score has been going down. That's what it's called, foreign language anxiety. The more you try to, it's kind of like quicksand. The more you try to get out of it, the further it drags you down. So let's understand why that happens. Why do you feel that way? So it basically stems out of three things. First is communication apprehension. So what that means is, do you know that shyness that you feel, when you're about to talk in English? You feel somewhat hesitant, should I be talking in English? You feel shy. I certainly had that. I don't know if you have it, but majority of us do have that. So, that's part one why you feel anxious. Number two, it's fear of negative evaluation. And I think that's most of us have. We don't want to lose, and we certainly don't want to be graded on a lower grade, right? No one likes to have an F on their test, and we all want to be winners. So, that's part of that as well. And finally, it's just test anxiety. Fear of the unknown. We don't know what might happen in the test, and that causes anxiety. So you need to understand this is what it comes from, and it's okay for you to feel that way, because at least now you know why it is and how it is, so you can deal with it. You can have some, you can find ways, have interventions to come over that. So here are some ways that you can actually reduce anxiety, and these are the things that I use personally, so you might find them useful, because I most certainly do. Start by creating a daily quiet time. You need to have some quiet time, because throughout the day there's so much happening. People are talking to us, we talk to ourselves in our head, that constant communication in our head, I wonder what I'm going to do for lunch. Am I doing good enough job at my work? Am I going to be okay with my IELTS exam? Things like that. So all the communication that we have in our head, we have with others, sometime in the day you need to have some peaceful time for yourself. Personally, I meditate in the mornings. Maybe that's something that might work for you. Try it out. If not, find something that's suitable for you. Just make sure that you have some time in the day where there's some quiet for you. After that, get enough sleep. If you don't have enough sleep, that is going to cause more anxiety. You'll be less productive. And finally, when your productivity goes down and when you have a plan and things don't go according to the plan, it will make your anxiety even further up. So, make sure you stick to the plan, sleep, be productive, and do the things that you're supposed to do. That'll help you with the anxiety. After that, make sure you exercise. It's very simple, I know. A lot of us, we are so stuck with the screens that we are always either studying, we're always looking at things, always constantly consuming some sort of content. And I think that is something we need to get away from. Exercise, go for a run, go for a jog, sweat it out. If you like going to the gym, go lift some weights because you need to do that. Spend some time outdoors as well, because if you sit in all day and you keep looking at things, that's just going to be like stuck in an environment and it'll increase your anxiety. So what you can do is go out, go take a hike, go walk, get some sunlight because you need that. As humans we do. It'll help you feel better. It'll perk up your mood as well. So that helps. You need to make sure to find a way to turn learning into fun. I know it might sound a little hard to do, but this is essential. If you can find a way to enjoy what you're learning, you're bound to be successful and you're bound to perform a lot better. And that is it's researched. Go look it up. When you look up foreign language anxiety, you'll find so much information, and this will be something on there as well. Foreign language performance. If you're enjoying what you're studying, you're bound to perform better, you're bound to learn better. So make sure you find a way to turn it into a game and you enjoy that. Finally, most important thing, self-motivation. I think this is often skipped and we don't look at it as much. We need to constantly tell ourselves that, hey, I can do this. I'm capable of doing this, and I can most certainly make sure that I can pass this. I can most certainly make sure that I can get a 7-band score in IELTS. So make sure you self-motivate, because if you don't motivate yourself, I don't know, the world out there, it's a hard place. Not a lot of people would want you to succeed, and they certainly won't be motivating you. So at the least, you need to motivate yourself. You have to tell yourself that, hey, I can do this. This is doable, and I'm sure I can certainly do this. So these are some of the things that help, at least personally help me with my anxiety, whenever I get some. So make sure you do that. Make sure you follow some of these, and you're bound to have some success with it. So find that out. And if you think your anxiety is getting a little too much and it's not in control, talking to a professional is also an option. Do that, because therapy, that can certainly help you out. So find a way. Find what works for you. That's the end of it. Because, make sure that anxiety is not there. You're dealing with anxiety, you're coping with it somehow. So find that. So, like how mentioned, happiness, that's what's going to produce results. Anxiety, no. Feeling depressed, no. You have to find a way to stay motivated. You have to find a way to be happy. That's how you will find results, at least with foreign language. When you're learning a second language, you have to make sure that the anxiety is down so that you can perform. Because sometimes, even when I'm nervous, mind you, English is my third language. Sometimes I wonder if I'm even speaking language when I get nervous. And that's the same, right? When we get anxious, we don't know if we're performing okay or not. So make sure you do that. Find a way to deal with anxiety. So now let's get started. Let's look at the framework, storytelling. So why storytelling? Why stick to telling stories? Because it's been done for ages. Ever since mankind started, we've told stories. And it's the easiest way for someone to actually understand what you're about to say. Give them a timeline, give them, point A, point B, and this is what happened in between. They'll understand a lot better. That's why storytelling is effective. It's been done forever, and it's just the right way to go. So let's look at what all is involved in a good story, or basically a story. So first of all, we have a hero in a story. The hero has a need. They want something, right? So for them to get what they want, there are some challenges that they have to overcome as well, because it's always the case. For example, in a movie that you watched recently, there's a guy who likes a girl, but the girl might like someone else. So that's a big challenge that he has to overcome. How do you get the girl? Yeah, I know, but that's an example, right? So now you have the need, you have the challenge. Now the hero must take some sort of action to, overcome the challenge. There you go, you have action. And finally, when he has taken the action, there's some sort of an outcome, a result that, creates the entire story. So there you go, you have 4 things in a story. You have a need, you have a challenge, you have an action, and you have a result. That's how you basically tell a story. Put those 4 things in there, and that's the story. Now, let's move forward. So now you know what a story is, how to tell one. Another aspect of it is emotion. Now, this is a very strong aspect of storytelling. You need to have some sort of an emotion to your story, because we always have some emotion, because that's what makes us human, right? We feel that. We go through that every day. It could be as simple as you going to the grocery store to pick up some milk, but a lot of things happen, on your way there, and you might be feeling a certain way. You could be sad, you could be happy, you could be surprised, just a ton of emotions that you could be feeling. So you need to describe that in your answer. You need to have a story, and the story needs to have an emotion. And here are some things that you can consider when you're talking about emotion. First of all, talk what the emotion is like. Are you feeling sad? Are you feeling lonely? Are you feeling happy? Are you feeling surprised? Talk about the emotion, what the emotion is. Next, talk about why you're feeling that emotion. Why are you sad? Why are you happy? Then after that, you can also talk about who made you feel that way. Because feelings sometimes are caused by external factors, and who is a good way to go about, adding some flavor to your story. Describe about who made you feel that way. Then you can talk about when you felt that way. Was it in the past? Is it something right now that you're feeling? Or is this something you think you might be feeling in the future as well, because that's how circumstances are? Talk about that. Talk about when you felt it. So this covers a timeline, right? Past, present, future. Adds more variety to your answer. After that, talk about where you felt that. Where was the place that you felt that emotion? Talk about that. And finally, talk about, some sort of synthesis, like how do you think this would affect you eventually? Like, how do you think your emotions are affecting you? What would be your actions out of it? Talk about that. So there you go. Now you know how to add emotion, how to describe them in a story. Now let's look at the cue card in its entirety. So the cue card is describe a photo that you're proud of. Mind you, all the photos in this deck, they are taken by me, apart from the first 2 photos. So these are my photos, and I'm very proud of these. So that's why I'm showing you these. I'm a photographer as well. So this cue card is describe a photo that you're proud of. When did you take this photo? Where you took this photo? What is the photo about? Why do you feel proud of the photo? So that's what the ask is, right? That's what we need to deliver. So there you go. That's the cue card. Now, before I give you my answer, I'm going to show you some words, the vocabulary that I've used in my answer. Now, these are some good words to remember, but make sure all the words that you're learning here, you Google them, because they have different meanings. Because, when you use a word in a sentence in a different context, the word changes, the meaning changes. So make sure, you learn the words, you put them in sentences and check if your sentences are correct or not. That's how you learn vocabulary. So now let's quickly look at the words that I'm using. First of all, for years. So you could use for years when you have to say for a long time. It's a nice way to put that out, right? Fascinating, which means extremely interesting. So if you're saying something is very interesting, use fascinating. It's a fancy word, I like it. After that, you can use sentimental. Sentimental means of or prompted by feelings of tenderness, sadness, or nostalgia. See, so much emotion in there. You can talk about nostalgia, you can talk about sadness, you can talk about tenderness, like just feelings, sentimentality in general. You can talk about it that way. After that, looking back on time. So this is something you use to evaluate a past experience or action that was taken by yourself. So you can use it then. Next, trauma. So trauma is a deeply disturbing or distressing experience. So say you witness someone passing away, someone dying. That might cause you some trauma, right? So that's the meaning of the word trauma. After that, digging emotions. Here, in the context to my answer, this meant finding emotions that other people have felt or I have felt in the past and looking for them, what the emotions were. So that's how we use this. To cover an event with context to my answer, that means to take photos for an event. This could also be used, say, if you're a journalist and you're reporting an event or reporting news, you could say, hey, I'm covering them. So there you go, you can use that. Exuding, that means display an emotion or quality strongly and openly. So someone is exuding confidence, that they're super confident, right? So that's when you can use this word, exuding. Certain air of grace. It can be used to describe a person's personality. That's how, I'm using it in my answer. Wrapped up means finished. And finally, stepped out. That means leave a room or building for a short time. Again, this word has so many meanings, so make sure you check what the context is, and then you check what the meaning is and make sure you use the answer correctly. So these are some words that you can put in your vocabulary because I use them just about every day. So feel free. Now let's look at the answer that I have for this. I have been taking photographs for years now, and over those years, I have been lucky enough to meet the brightest and most fascinating personalities. There was never a dull moment, and I'm convinced that if given the chance to live those years again, I wouldn't change a thing. One could say that I'm being sentimental, but it's the truth. Without great experiences, our lives would be so boring. Looking back on time, I have photographed multiple faces, and each face had a different story to tell. Some wanted to share their happiness, others their hidden trauma. So really, it was almost like playing the role of a counselor and digging emotions out of people. But one moment, that single photograph, which I'm most proud of, involved the lady who shared her life experiences with me. It was 2016 winter, and I had been assigned to cover an event. The speaker was an older woman, exuding a certain air of grace to her. As I photographed the audience, I would occasionally tune into her lecture on beauty and the miseries of professional modeling. It was then that it really struck me that this lady had been a model in her early career. I was very fascinated by her story and wanted to learn more about her past experiences. Once I had completed the assigned task, I awaited her to finish the talk so that I could photograph her. Some 20 minutes later, she wrapped up and headed out. I approached her and asked permission if I could photograph her, and she actually agreed. We stepped out of the building, and I remember this clear as day. It had snowed earlier in the morning and was bitterly cold out, but I had envisioned her portrait with a solid white background. We decided to start our session and talked about multiple things, about her youth, friends, experiences that shaped her life, and her connection to friends and family. And finally, we started talking about life and death. It was then that she told me a story of someone passing away while on flight, and how it made her terribly sad. And at the same time, how it made her realize how fragile life was. As we stood there in silence with white snow all around us, a single tear came running down her cheek as she looked away into the distance. Watching that, I had a sudden realization that everything was very temporary. At that very moment, my finger clicked the camera shutter and captured the story in front of me. That picture has become my favorite ever since. So there you go. That's my answer. That's how I would describe a photo that you're proud of. I made sure that I covered a story. I made sure there was an emotion in there. And of course, there was a vocabulary that I used, right? So this is how you can answer. And you know what? Doesn't matter how much you hate public speaking. Doesn't matter how much you despise talking about things. There are certain ways that you can do it. And this is an effective technique to do it. Use storytelling. Create a timeline, put some emotions in it, and you'll have a good answer. At least with your IELTS, you can do it, and there's certain guarantee that you can get a good grade on this. So yeah, use this technique. I hope you find this useful. And if you like the video, don't forget to hit the like button and make sure you share and subscribe with your friends. Someone would find this useful, right? See you in the next video. Take care.